The police car sounds cut through the early morning like a sharp blade through smooth cloth, waking me up on my front porch, my coffee cup still hot in my hand. With no shoes on, I watched as two police cars stopped really fast with lights flashing, rocks flying everywhere. Then here comes Diane Powell, who runs the HOA, and acts like she's the boss of Willow Creek, walking toward my old barn like she was attacking a castle. Her finger pointed in the air, her voice high and angry, talking about rule-breaking, dangerous stuff and dangers to her perfect neighborhood. The police barely got out before she told them to take my barn. Not look at it. Take it. I stood there, stuck between not believing it and getting really mad. That barn, built by my grandpa in 1952, had made it through big floods, bad storms, and lots of years. Now it was being treated like a bad place because Diane's fancy way of thinking couldn't deal with it being there. But then everything changed. Officer Martinez put his ear against the barn's old wood and stopped moving. Wait. Do you hear that? The door opened from inside and a teenage boy came out with no shirt, eyes big and scared, holding a backpack as he ran toward the trees. I didn't know him, but Diane did. Her face turned really white, her mouth open with no sound. That was her son, Noah. All of a sudden, the cops weren't talking about my barn. They were talking about someone being where they shouldn't. Martinez turned to me, really curious in his look. Diane stood still, one foot angry, the other scared. I walked toward the barn. My grandpa's gift, every piece of wood full of memories I'd spent months fixing up. Diane had just made a really big mistake. Martinez, a calm officer with eyes that had seen worse than HOA fights, asked Diane to explain why her son was inside a barn she called empty and dangerous. She stumbled around saying things about mix-ups, saying Noah must have gotten lost. But the lie fell apart fast. Noah had left stuff behind. A backpack full of snacks, a broken tablet, and a roll of gray tape. Martinez looked at me, then at Diane. Nobody said anything, hung heavy. Later, after the police left and Diane stomped off her perfume smell like a bad sign, I walked into the barn to look around. The place smelled of old grass and old times, but something felt wrong. Under a pile of hay, I found dirty sneakers, an empty energy drink can, and more gray tape. This wasn't a kid's hiding place. It was a secret too messy for a teenager to keep neat. Diane's reaction hadn't been surprise. It was the look of someone getting caught doing something wrong. She built a kingdom on small HOA problems, wrong mailbox heights, bushes not cut. But this was different. She'd called the cops too. Blame me all while her son was using my barn for who knows what. The story didn't make sense. The next day, I looked at the security camera I'd put up just because hidden near the barnside door. Video from 3 nights ago showed Noah and 2 other teens sneaking in with flashlights and a rolling suitcase that made noise like it had tools or wires. This wasn't a joke. It looked like stealing. I copied the video to a USB and locked it in my safe. This was bigger than being where you shouldn't. Maybe stealing, maybe worse. Diane knew something, and her war wasn't just going too far, it was hiding something. That evening, she came back alone, standing at my property line, waving a plastic-covered notice like a flag. She yelled about HOA rule, breaking, saying my barn was ugly to look at. Even though my land was outside their control, I reminded her of that fact. She ignored me, bragging about signatures and promises of neighborhood fighting. I told her to bring her army and a lawyer. Her eyes got narrow. She wasn't used to people fighting back, especially from someone who knew her rules meant nothing. I locked the barn and sat in the upper part, looking across the fields, remembering my grandpa's words. People will try to take what they can't control. Diane saw my barn as a danger to her power. She was about to learn it would destroy her. Morning brought a new footprint near the barn. Small knew Noah, or his friends had come back. I called Martinez, showed him the video, the sneakers, the suitcase. He nodded seriously, saying he felt trouble in Diane's house. She didn't want anyone to know about. Behind the woodpile, I found a ripped notebook, its burned pages listing meeting places, dates, and tool names. It screamed stolen stuff. When Martinez came, I gave him the notebook video and a bag I'd found stuffed with wires and marked tools. He took pictures of everything, talking quietly about a possible stealing gang. This barn's no hiding place, he said. It's a place to keep stolen stuff. Diane had watched the wrong thing, the barn instead of her son. She'd pay for it. Martinez stayed looking at the barn like it had secrets in its wood. He said the tools matched new stealing reports from a local building company. The notebooks I meeting place list showed a pattern. When I mentioned Diane's HOA trick, he asked if I had people who hated me. That question scared me. This wasn't just a teenager's mistake. This was criminal, and Diane's lies were a desperate way to hide. He said he checked the proof and told me not to touch anything else. I agreed, not because I was scared, but because I wanted the truth to destroy her. At the hardware store, I met Harold, a quiet HOA board member. When I told him about Noah and Diane's attack, his mouth got tight. He said, Diane had pushed a making things pretty campaign targeting my barn even though it was protected. She mixes power with owning things. He said quietly. It hit me. Diane wasn't just controlling, she was hiding something. That night I found my trash can moved, showing more energy drink cans and cigarette pieces. Someone was still sneaking around. I put in a second camera hidden in the upper part and barely slept, expecting someone to break through my window. Morning was too quiet, the air thick with worry. At noon, Diane showed up, sunglasses on, waving a paper signed by her board telling me to tear down the barn in 30 days. I took the paper, looked at it and smiled. It had the letterhead of Willow Creek HOA, but my land was in Pine Hollow Township. You can't rule what you don't own. I said, giving it back. The protection board keeps this. Barn safe. Her smile was fake. We'll see what the county says. I called Ellen, a retired lawyer, and my grandpa's friend, who laughed at the paper's problems. Wrong area. Fake signatures. She wrote a stop-it letter ready if Diane made it worse. Quiet from Noah's group felt like a snake ready to strike. That night, the second camera caught two teens with hoods digging near the wood pile. They ran before I could do anything, but I marked the spot. At morning, I dug, finding a rusty ammo box packed with marked tools, bottles without labels, fireworks, and $400 in wrinkled 20s. This was no joke. It was a crime place I called Martinez, who came fast with gloves writing down the find. Noah had been asked questions but wouldn't talk, saying other kids were. Part of it, Martinez didn't believe it. An envelope taped to my mailbox had blurry barn photos and a typed threat. Remove this building in 30 days or the HOA will act. I burned it. Done with games. At the county records office, worker Susan said my barn was protected under the Historical Preservation Act. She mentioned a woman in a blue jacket asking about taking it off the list for safety. Diane had tried to erase history through paperwork. That evening, I flew my drone, seeing 3 people. Near the tree line, one pointing at the barn, I saved the video, feeling a storm coming. At the VFW hall, old-timer Gus shared how my grandpa fought building companies in the 80s to save the barn using community letters and a senator's help. Gus had those papers saved in case history tried to change itself. The next morning, I put together everything: video, photos, police reports, protection papers, into a folder. I wasn't asking for permission. I was showing Diane's lies. Tire marks near the barn proved she was watching. Harold called, upset. Diane's emergency HOA meeting had gone wrong. She'd shown fake photos of dangerous waste by my barn. But Noah's school punishment for selling stolen tools connected to my barn changed the room. The board stopped meeting in silence. Diane changed plans, sending a county zoning officer, Greg, who admitted an unknown complaint made his visit. I showed him the protection forms he threw out the case, calling it a neighbor's revenge. That night, voices brought me outside. Diane led a group with signs. Protect our community. Remove the ugly thing filming my barn from the road. I wrote down their license plates with the drone, waiting for my chance. Martinez came back. Bad news. Noah's friends had told the truth. The barn was their drop-off for weeks, and Diane had tried paying their parents to keep them quiet. Charges were coming, lying, false reports. In the barn's upper part, I found my grandpa's trunk filled with letters that sounded like my fight history. Wasn't just happening again, it was fighting back. Diane's last try came with a lawyer, Mr. Vince, claiming a court order for environmental worries. I stayed quiet, knowing her claims were lies. That morning, local news showed Noah's blurred picture, connecting him to country stealing online. A Reddit post. HOA president's son used barn for crime ring exploded. My trail camera video leaked by Harold became famous, titled, Not So Empty. The HOA board turned against Diane, collecting proof against Her A paper to kick her out gained 70% support. Neighbors came together offering paint snacks, even grass-cutting help. Diane's court case claiming danger and lies arrived, but Ellen fought back with a stop it, letter lies claim, and witness statements, from teens saying Diane covered up. At the town hall meeting, Diane's speech failed under cold silence. Harold showed the paper, her microphone was turned off. She ran, pushing a reporter. That night I opened the barn doors, sunlight flooding the dusty floor. The fog lifted. Neighbors waved. Noah showed up, sorry, admitting the barn was his escape from Diane's control. The hidden stuff grew from dares to crime. He offered to repaint the barn. That weekend, he and his friends worked hard, sanding, painting. Chestnut brown neighbors joining with lemonade and paint sealer. Ellen sent protection signs. The county threw out Diane's court case. Weeks later, Diane came back, giving back a stolen protection letter she'd taken, admitting she lost. She was moving. Rejected by Willow Creek, I took the letter quietly. The barn stood not just a building, but a proof that family history beats lies. Diane had fought memory and lost.